too, I guess. Hey, we're
Let's
live,
do that.
everybody. Welcome to the show. Now, today, before we run the credits, I just want to say this. We're going to try to act like adults. Good luck with that. Not Rizzo, but Brown Car Guy was nice. I know. Brown Car Guy was nice enough. That's that guy right there for you people on the podcast. You can't see him. He sent us a list of things that he wants to talk about today. And there's like 6 of them. And I think they're in the description. The bet is we don't get through one of them. So we'll see. So there you go. This is going to be a great show. Vicky's been up for 36 hours because of the sex change. So we'll see how she pulls off today. Dave was here but left because he's getting a sex change.
He just can't be bothered.
Show.
He couldn't be bothered.
Yeah,
he was like, I'm out of here.
His own show. Yeah. All right, kids, here we go. We're going to be, as we say, live.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
We are live. Hey, welcome to the show, everybody that loves us or doesn't.
So, or whatever.
It doesn't matter. Whatever. So, and I don't know if anybody send the links out to their fans. Of course not. So there you go. So this will be
I posted in 1 or 2 places, but it might have been too late.
No. On Saturday on the cigar show. Yeah. Usman's the only one that posts to the fans. I put it out too, but we literally do it 5 minutes after the show starts.
Right. Oh, well, there you go. That's how you do it.
Yeah, because
okay. Maybe that's the trick. Maybe that's the way to do it. It's happening now. That's
it's now. Sort of it's live. No. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's now. Yeah. So
yes.
Okay.
I'll be back.
So I'll be something. So listen. So we don't deviate. We have I have a list here of 237 different items you wanted to talk about. Find it now.
I did no preparation
what happened?
for this whatsoever. I did read the list.
You read the list?
Yeah.
So to fill everybody in, what happened was that, Stephen normally plans this and then he posits the question is like, well, what are we going to discuss? And I was like, okay. And then I thought, well, let's crystal ball gaze. Let's look into the future. Let's do that. Let's see where are we going? Where is this all going to end up? Are we even going to make it? So we thought, I think that's the end of the show right there. That's it. All right, we decided.
Thanks for joining, everybody. I'll see you next week.
That was that. To be honest, that was that. That might well be that. But anyway, the idea was let's look at the future, and imagine like it's 2035. So where are we heading? And I mean, like you said, I did list down 6 points. It'd be like you said, I would be surprised if we managed to get through them, but. The idea was to look at it from every angle, from mobility to society to healthcare to economics to whether the aliens are going to get us, all of that sort of stuff. So I suppose we better kick off.
Well, here before we do that, let me just do this really quick for you. Here's the topics supposedly, and we know how this is going to go that we're going to cover: the future of cars and travel, AI in society, tool or tyrant? Tyrant, come on, it's a crazy question. Healthcare and humanity. There is no humans, so there's no healthcare. Space, the final frontier, satellites and contact, aliens and disclosure, and finally the human experience. And first we have to figure out what that means. Okay, so there you go. So that's kind of the 6 things we're going to try to talk about today. So feel free to comment. If you don't like somebody, definitely tell them to subscribe and like to the show and go from there. It's awesome. And then we're going to go from there.
Punish your friends. Punish them.
Your friends by making them watch this. That's how we look at it. So anyway, and after the show,
only
we
the bots that watch us anyway, right?
That's right. Can I tell you what's funny? The live show by the end of the week will be huge. The podcast will be huge, and the rebroadcast does okay. So it's funny. The live and the podcast will do great numbers. The rebroadcast is sort of like, oh, they're not live. All the shows are like that.
They like us live. They want to know that we're here,
live,
that we're existing. We're not avatars. We're not AI generated. We are actually sitting here with a cup of coffee and a Superman mug. That's what's happening.
I have Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh. There you go. Where's Tigger? So there you go.
Well, hey, she's right over there actually. Because the wonderful thing about Tiggers are wonderful things. Their springs are made of rubber. Anyway, All right. So where do we want to lead off? Do we want to start? Do we start? First of all, if we're in the year 2035,
Yeah.
Vicki now is married to some South Korean president or North
Yeah.
Korean dictator. We don't know
Well,
yet.
maybe she's running the place.
Oh, congratulations. A little white girl running the Koreans. Oh, look at you.
I was going to
That's
say,
nice.
no, that really would be the end of the world. That would be the beginning of the end.
All right. And Vicki, now, if it's 2035, Vicki's finally hit 35 years old. Congratulations.
I'm legal
Vicki.
drinking age. Yeah.
Yeah, she's legal drinking age. Congratulations.
Well, I mean, that could be something that would come to in the later topic about healthcare, right? Whether we are going to stop aging or whatever, you know, so that's one of the questions. But I guess the first point is obviously being the brown car guy. Number one, I put what is the future of transport? What is the future of cars? You know, so I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to let you guys grill me on this because I'm supposedly the expert on these things. I'll let you. Yeah. Look at his face. Look at the face.
Look at that face. He's only been doing it for like 100 years. You think he would know. So, and we're being generous. So here's my question.
Yeah.
What do you think? Now we have the orange man, and America is going to be, you know, a third-rate country. What do you think is going to go on because he's killing all the green credits and all the carbon and and he's like drill baby drill and all this other crap. So do you think EVs have a shot, or do you think EVs are kind of like it was a cute little fad while it lasted, and we're going to keep polluting with with gas engines? Thank God, 12-cylinder Ferraris, you know, manly cars, not like beep beep. I have a Tesla. So what do you think?
Drill, baby, drill. You know,
Drill.
Look,
I had a kid that said that once too. So
listen. At the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be any one solution. Personally, I've always said this. I think it's going to be multiple solutions going ahead. I think whatever Trump is doing, whatever America is doing, I don't think that's really going to have an impact on the rest of the world. Because you know we're projected to get up to 55% of global sales being EVs by 2035. A lot of countries are still on that trajectory. Growth has happened throughout Europe and even here in the UK, not to the extent that the government wanted to see it, but we're up to about 20% EV sales already this year.
Right.
So that is happening, and it's going to continue to happen. Of course, the technology is going to improve, the batteries are going to improve, and then other technologies also going to join it, like hydrogen fuel cells, and maybe something else. Now, the only thing about America is that, okay, they're going back to the petrol thing. They're going back to drill, baby, drill, more internal combustion engine cars, more petrol cars, more muscle cars. Ferrari, Lamborghini, they're still doing their thing. I mean, they're almost sort of backtracking on their electric ambitions to an extent. But you know what? None of that will make a difference because that's fine. Because I think that there will always be scope for normal internal combustion engine cars. I think that they're going to be here with us until the 2040s. So I don't think by 2035 that petrol cars are going to completely disappear. People might say, well, the infrastructure won't be there because petrol stations will start to die off, which is almost inevitable. But in Dubai, we've already seen how they can replace that. Because did you know in Dubai, you can order a tanker. So you don't even have to go to a petrol station. It's just like calling up for a delivery. Say, I need my tank filled. They'll come and fill your tank for you. So I can foresee that sort of thing happening. But yeah, to answer your question about America, I think what America is doing is going to be a blip on the automotive landscape. You know, certainly it's going to set back things for a while, but I don't think it's going to make a huge dent. The trajectory that we're on is still the trajectory that we're on.
And the big question then is, I already know the answer, but I want to see what you say. And before I do this, the gas thing in Dubai, I have a friend and we were out and he said, my car's at a quarter. It was actually somebody who's a somebody. And he said, my car's at a quarter of a tank. Let me rephrase it. His driver said that. And he said, well, call. And like when we were smoking cigars, we were watching and all of a sudden a little green and white truck pulled up. And I was like, he goes, that's our gas. And I started to laugh and I go, only you. And he goes, no, everybody. He says, and it doesn't cost, it's like a $5 service fee or whatever. And he said, these guys are 24/7 all over Dubai and Abu Dhabi and around. I thought that was awesome. I'm like, we should do that in America. Because, you know, we're America. Anyway.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. Welcome to America. Oh, God. Anyway. I was reading the stuff about the Senate this morning.
He just heard himself and he flinched. He's like, oh no.
I like it when we were just America, you know, like the land of the free, the land of the brave, the land of pornography. But now none of it. Anyway. And remember, catch Vicki on her OnlyFans page. Anyway, so here's the thing I have. EVs. Who do you think in 2035, what country dominates EVs? In my mind, I already know from all the research and what I'm reading, but who do you think dominates?
Well, I think it's already dominating. So I think that that answer has been answered. Sorry, that question has been answered already, and it is of course China. China is obviously it hit the ground running. See, what happened was that whereas the entire rest of the car industry, when this whole EV thing came along, people thought, okay, it's a simple case of you take the engine out and you put a battery in. It's not that simple. It goes back to fundamentals. You literally have to redesign cars from the ground up again. And then you have to redesign your entire infrastructure, your research, development, your production, everything. So for legacy car makers, suddenly that was a massive, massive pivot to be able to do in a very, very short time. And they just didn't have the investment, they didn't have the facilities, and it meant losing jobs, it meant losing factories. They just can't do it. For those juggernauts to switch lanes like that is almost impossible. And they're doing it, but they're doing it they're literally eking across into the next lane. China, of course, didn't actually have a car industry until like 15, 20 years ago. And then suddenly they had a car industry. So they were right at the beginning of what they were doing. And they were like, oh, we think this EV thing is going to take off. So they thought, well, let's just go down the electrification route from day dot. And I think that's what's really helped them. They've hit the ground running. They were ahead of everybody else. The cars are progressing at an exponential rate. The technology is all coming out of China. All the refinement for the batteries, the battery production is all happening in China anyway. So even all the other electric cars around the world, they are sourcing their components from China even now. So the reality is, and all these new brands are coming out there. So the reality is that the landscape of automotive manufacturing will look very, very different in 2035. And the brands that we know and love today, I would be surprised if they all survive by 2035. I think we might have remnants of them, or they might become part of other Chinese companies or what have you. So I think in future we'll all be driving, many of us will be driving EVs, and many of those will be Chinese.
And we'll be going, boom, 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 General Chow's chicken. I'm kidding. I don't like General Chow's chicken. I like Lionhead soup. Anyway,
there you go.
There you go. So here's, Vicky, stop it. We have many Chinese fans. In fact, after the show, I'm sure Xi's going to call me and threaten to take away my panda.
Probably.
Here's what's really interesting about China. Other than there's a lot of Chinese people there. Who knew? Is that
a lot,
like a billion. Their EVs are built like a Rolls. Most of them are built with the quality of Rolls Royce. Like if you look at BYD and all the others and Lee and the rest of them, when you get into one of their cars and you close the door, it's like getting into a Rolls Royce, not getting into like a Nissan or a Toyota or a Datsun or a American POS. It's a real car. And the fact that their batteries go anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 kilometers, where our batteries go 200 and 300 miles. So for people for kilometers, 1,000 kilometers is about 600 miles. So just think about it. Their batteries go 600 to 1,200 miles. Well, ours go 300.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we already had Japan caught up with the world car industry in the 70s and 80s by just investing more in it, getting more heads together, and just going harder and faster. And then, of course, Korea came along and then pulled the rug from under Japan's feet and did the same thing. And Korea did it by stealing a lot of the smartest people from design in Germany and engineering in Japan, and then they progressed. Now China has done even more, and it's accelerated even harder. One thing that shocked me a few weeks ago when I was at a conference, BYD has 100,000 people working not in the factories, not in producing these cars, but just in R&D. Just in R&D. So these are just 100,000 boffins sitting there coming up with ideas. And you talk about the quality of the Chinese cars, which the progress has been absolutely incredible just in the last 10 years. But that's not really the thing that gets me. What gets me is the innovation. So what they're doing is they're coming out with stuff that other people haven't even thought of. I mean, the whole tank turn on cars, the car that can float on water and can drive around. When you think about what's happening in the world, climate change, increased instances of flooding. And then some Chinese boffin, someone said, well, why don't we make our SUV capable of coping with water? Like nobody else ever thought of that. And they said, well, let's just do it. Let's just make that part of the car. So, and there's all these other things. The car that can, the Citroen DS was able to drive on 3 wheels in the 1960s, but, no other car has been able to do it since, but now the Chinese have a car that can do it. So I think that what is truly terrifying is not just the dominance of China, but it's the scope of their innovation and their thinking outside of the box to come up with creative new solutions that we haven't thought of before. To be fair to Elon Musk, I'm no fan of his, as you know, but he did kind of start this off by introducing quirky things into his cars, like the dancing doors and the hooligan modes and stuff like that. So he basically made electric cars, sexy, if you like, appealing to a lot of people by introducing the sort of features that no other legacy manufacturer would think about. No Mercedes would never put a hooligan mode in their car. They just wouldn't. They wouldn't think it would be right and proper. But when a disruptor comes along and does something like that, then it catches attention. The Chinese have took notice of that and have basically run with it. So they've gone even a step further. So I would say, not just the quality, but the level of technical gadgetry and innovation that is going to be seen in cars. I mean, yes, very. The other thing that, and I know we had this discussion last time. Reza jumped on one of our sessions. Was the whole autonomous car thing. Yeah. And in the past, I often used to say, I don't think autonomous cars is happening for 10, 15 years. But I've had to change my mind on that, because just the level of AI, the acceleration that's happening there, the level of sensors and everything that we're getting on cars. And I think within 5 years, we may well see that. We may see fully autonomous cars. We kind of have them at the moment, but they're festooned with radars and cameras and all this sort of stuff. But what we're really talking about is a Knight Rider. That's the ultimate autonomous car for us, right? And I think that we may well see that. I think within, certainly within 10 years, but within 5 years, and definitely by 2035.
Yeah, and here's the other interesting. Porsche, I think, just killed their EV program. BMW scaled back. Rolls-Royce's Spectre, I've driven it. It's a beautiful car. It's phenomenal. But I'm like, no, I want for this kind of money. I want like 12 cylinders. I want Petrol. I want to put. I don't. It's great that you can accelerate like you're in an F1 car, but it's like, okay, you got a little battery that goes 200 and something. Big deal.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
BYD
In the same week that we had news out recently from Mercedes, they got that AMG GT XX concept, which is fully electric with 1350 horsepower, and it goes 0 to 60 in 3 seconds or something. But in the same week, Corvette released their ZR1X with 1250 horsepower, an old school V8 flat plain crank, and 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. I think it was under 2 seconds, which is ridiculous, So there is the petrol industry or the ICE industry fighting back. And I think, again, when you talk about the likes of Rolls-Royce and Ferrari and these boutique car manufacturers, I don't think that, this whole legislation of forcing everybody to go electric, I think is a mistake. And it will kill brands. It will kill these brands because, you don't want an electric Ferrari. You just don't want one. Why do you want one? You look at the latest, whatever, I don't even know the name, the latest Ferrari, which is a hybrid car, right? I often commentate for the supercar club. And you 488 comes along or 458 comes along, 296 GTB or whatever. And you got proper old school Ferrari V8 and you go, accelerates down. You go, wow, ha, ha, you can feel it, you can hear it. And then this thing comes along with the hybrid technology and it's like, okay, it's quick, but I didn't feel that.
Yeah,
I didn't feel that at all.
Thing. Enzo Ferrari said, and I agree with Enzo, it's not a Ferrari unless it's a V12. And I agree with Enzo. Yeah, I like a V12. I like the notes that a V12 makes. I don't think the V8s make, or I should say an 8 makes the same as a 12. I don't care that goes 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. You drive like a normal person. The newest Ferrari that came out yesterday, I was seeing, it's the cheap one. Yeah, the problem now with Ferrari is Ferrari's becoming like everybody else. They're trying to sell cars.
No,
and
they shouldn't do that.
Will kill that. I agree. That's going to kill the mystique of Ferrari. And what's going to end up happening is Ferrari then will be no better than a Mercedes, a BMW, a Rolls-Royce, whatever. And it's going to be now the older Ferraris, because I'm not a fan of the 290 and the F80 or whatever, just all crap. Like, I look at them like, okay, you all look alike. You look like the McLarens, and like there's nothing there.
I think it's very important that we don't, go down the pit of badge engineering and end up with completely anonymous vehicles which have remnants of what the greatness that those badges used to represent. And I think that it's important for those badges to keep their identity. And I think in an ideal world, by 2035, those companies will have retrenched to doing what they were best at doing, whereas the large majority of car manufacturers will basically be creating pods for us to travel around in, and pods that we don't even own, because I think the entire ownership model will also change. I don't think that there's any point of us owning cars anymore, and which is terrible for car culture, but I'm afraid that that's just the way it's going. What will survive and thrive, I think, to an extent, is classic car culture, but that depends on how long we can keep these cars going. into this 21st century. But I think the fundamentals of mobility and transport are going to change. It is going to look very different in 2035. You see a lot of youngsters at the moment saying we're not bothered learning automatics, that's for sure. Learning manual cars, that's for sure, because everything's automatic. But they're not even bothered to learning driving, because they're like, well, we just have Uber, we have this, we'll have autonomous cars, we won't need to drive. So I think that's an inevitable part of what's happening. The future of mobility will look very different, but I hope, and I'm optimistic that car culture, or some semblance of car culture, will still coexist side by side with the completely new era of personal mobility that will happen by 2035, 2040.
That'd be nice. But I also think China is, with BYD especially, has all their supercars they want to come out with. And their supercars, as much as I love Ferrari, I've never been a big fan of Lamborghini. I do, and all the stupid ones like Pagani and Koenigsegg, they're cute, but you can't drive them. Like, I can't drive it every day because they break. And I think I told you a story about a Koenigsegg and a guy in Chicago, and if not, I'll tell you off air. But you can't drive them every day. And to me, it's like, I'm not buying a piece of art. If I'm buying a piece of art, it hangs on the wall. BYD is coming out with supercars that you can drive every day, whether they're electric, they're all electric, and they all have that 200 or 2,000 kilometer battery, and they look just as beautiful and handle just as well as a Ferrari. The only thing I don't get is my engine notes, but other than that, I'll survive. So to me, it's like, I think it's going to be very interesting between now and the end of this decade, what that looks like in the world of supercars, cars in general, and whatnot. Vicki, what do you think? You want to own a car? Or you want to just have Jeeves the robot pick you up and take you?
I was thinking that that's also one of the jobs that's going to disappear, right? So the cab drivers and bus drivers are going to be out of a job because it's already happening. And they have
Waymo.
Yeah, they have Waymo, and in Korea they've got their autonomous buses already. They're running. You guys saw I went on one, but now they're like, there's more, and they're doing more routes and fully operational. And like, I went through a bus strike when I was there, and I'm really happy about that because that bus strike sucked, and they have a subway strike going on, and then the subway cars are going to obviously be driven by AI as well, and they can have trains that run all night, and they will not, have to worry about people, working their shifts. And I don't know. I mean, as much as I don't want people to lose their jobs, I just think that that's such a great thing. I'm really excited about that because I'm not going to have a creepy Uber driver who tells me about how he broke up with his girlfriend as he drives me to my house and goes, "Oh, you live there," kind of thing. Yeah, don't have to deal with that. Hopefully.
Unless it's in Korea, then she's like, "Yes, I live here. Would you like to come up?"
Here's my number. But I'll tell you what, Vicki, that's a really nice segue into number 2 on our list, actually, because you got.
Thank you.
There you
fine,
go. That was brilliant. That was brilliantly done because number 2 was about AI and society. So let me just give you a couple of things here. So you talked about job displacement, which is very real. It's already happening. In fact, what we've seen already is that McKinsey projects up to 30% of US jobs will be automated by 2030, and 60% will be significantly altered. Up to 375 million workers could need new roles by 2030. 1 to 3 million jobs may shift in the UK. And here's the other thing. UK graduate roles dropped 32% since the introduction of ChatGPT, which is terrifying, actually, if you think about it. You've done 3 to 5 years of university to come out and find there's no job awaiting you anymore because ChatGPT is doing it. So this actually just builds on what you already touched on, is to be honest, I don't have the answer to this. What about you guys? What is going to be the situation with jobs in the future with AI and automation?
Let me tell you, here at the Illuminati Society, lizard people. Here it comes. So here's in the FT this morning. There's an article about JP Morgan and Bank Mellon that they say that about 30 to 40% of the jobs now can be handled by AI. Salesforce and LinkedIn came out last week, because we discussed it on Lost Dollar Business Club, that 50% of the jobs now there are being handled by AI. So there's an article also this morning in the FT that talked about China is not that far behind and probably will surpass the United States when it comes to AI. So to answer your question, yes. And this goes back to something we keep saying, then what? You can't create make-believe jobs anymore. like you're going to have to come up, unfortunately, with a UBI or a BI,
Well,
universal basic income or income.
well, this is it. Let me interrupt you there, because this is what whenever this question is put to experts, and maybe Vicky, you can also explain this a little bit. Whenever people say this to them, it's like, oh, all these jobs will go away, and the experts will always say, oh, but we've seen in the past that whenever new technology comes along, it creates new jobs. But I can't see, unless you guys can, how AI is going to create more. Somebody said, oh, we'll be sitting there creating AI and robotics. Yeah, you only need a few people to do that, not the entire population. So I can't see where these new jobs will come from.
Vicky, for the people on the podcast, she's shaking her head.
The scary thing to me is that this is like a harbinger of going back to serfdoms and the ruling class, because you're going to have with this, universal income. Great. I don't have to work. I get this, I can do whatever I want and I still have enough money to live by. But then you find out, oh, but you're never getting more. You can never get a second job to go on that vacation. You cannot earn more to get a better house. So you're stuck at this level and there's no opportunity or anything out there for you to better yourself. So you're always going to be a serf. Your kid's going to be a serf. You're never going to, marry a lady of the manor or whatever. And then these super uber rich Stevens of the world are going to gatekeep all the money and keep it at this certain level. And, I see this as part of like the grand plan. Thank God we know Steven, because maybe like we could,
he might
at least have a nice serfdom life or something. Yeah. Maybe we'll be working on the good farm instead of the shit farm where they're like, how do you know he's a king? Well, he's got shit all over.
We'll put you on the good side of the wall. Don't worry. Stop it. I need somebody to water the plants. Stop.
But that's the very real fear, isn't it? That dystopian nature of where, the rich will be in the gold city behind the wall and everybody else will be outside. You just exist.
It sounds great. Everyone gets, money and you don't have to work anymore. We can go on vacation. What the heck? No.
That's not great. And that's the problem. I know like the new bill that they're trying to pass right now, it's like if you don't work, you have to have self-worth. People have self-worth. If you can't get a job, that's sometimes not your fault. It's because of the economy or because of what it is, right? So when they say, oh, people are useless unless they work. Hey, listen, I don't want to say anything, but you senators and Congress people and all you people that are administrative in the Trump, you're not doing shit. So you're worthless according to you guys. The problem is I'm not really for UBI, and I'm not really for people not working. I want people to work and have self-worth. But if I'm going to have, whether it's robots, AI, whatever it might be, and I cannot now have people work. It's like when General Motors went to an autonomous plant and they had 50,000 people working there. And the next day, I'm making a number, of course, they had 5. There's 45,000 people. Most of them were on getting their retirement or done. Like, so for them, it was like, oh, okay, I'm still going to, like, it's good. But to your point, now I have 20-year-olds and what are you going to do? It's like, you're going to play crypto all day. Oh, okay. What are you going to build? Because ultimately at some point, whether it's Elon or the Chinese the other day were showing robots playing soccer. They look like 5-year-olds, but they're robots playing, football. And it was awesome. And I was like, okay, but they're making progress. We're really not. The only thing we have is Boston Dynamics that have killer robot dogs, which is awesome because we have 10 of them around the property, and it's just fun to scare the mailman.
You can ride them now,
little kids, it's fun to put lasers on them and let them shoot them. It's great. We have a good time. But my point of this all is, and we've talked about this, if you don't do something for the populace, because there's 1 billion of us that are okay. Full stop. There's 1 billion out of the 8.1 billion. We're okay. We don't give a fuck. We're good. We're going to survive. Whether we survive here, Pluto, Mars, I don't care. We're good. I'm worried about 7 billion people that can't survive. No wall, no military, that is going to protect you unless they have their needs met. Because they're at some point going to go, screw this bullshit. Like the new bill that's just passing in the Senate, if it passes, like 11 million people don't get Medicaid. And these are like, one lady's like, I won't get Medicaid. She goes, I can't work. She's in a wheel. Like she said, I would have been dead years ago without someone coming in and doing this is what's going to happen. So if Trump's trying to cause, gonna have a revolution, then that's where we're heading. So there's no 28 election. I see what he's doing. Okay. If you're trying to make America whatever, that's not it. And it becomes a global thing. But other countries are smart enough to know that. So like, Kuwait and other countries, they have kind of a UBI for people. It's like, listen, we're going to pay for your electric. We pay for your housing. We give you enough money that you can have a life. Now, if you want to work, go ahead and work, and you can still get money from us, but now you have more. So if you want to buy the 12th car or you want to buy your jet, that's your thing. But we give you
But where are those
the
jobs?
basics
What
of
are
whatever.
those jobs?
Yeah,
That's
What
the
are those
problem.
jobs that they
Nobody's
can
thinking
get?
through that.
Well,
That's what I don't get.
Vicky's raised a very good point, because bringing it back to the original question is like, well, if AI is taking all these jobs,
Right.
where is that opportunity for
There
humans to
isn't.
then go and do? Well, there isn't. That's the problem. Also,
Right.
the other issue that you got to think about is the rapid state of human consumption, which we have seen accelerate so much in the last couple of decades or so, right?
Right.
I mean, the fact that we just need to consume, we need to build more stuff, and all that we're doing is that we're damaging the environment because we're just building more and more stuff. China's building all these cars. Great. China's doing really well. Great. We're digging all these minerals out of the ground to
Right.
build more batteries. Great. But you're doing a lot of damage there. That's a lot of energy that's going into creating all these vehicles, which they are obviously trying to get economic prosperity. You can't blame them. You can't blame China. You can't blame India. You can't blame these countries for trying to do what the West has been doing anyway for decades or millennia. But at the same time, you go, well, you're just making more for a population that can't absorb the wastage that you're creating. It's too much for the environment. It's too much for the economy. So even if you said, okay, let's artificially create jobs for people to go make stuff for other people to buy. It's like, well, that's not sustainable. The planet can't keep doing. We can't keep doing that. We have a phone. We have a car. Why do we need to change it every year? Why do we need another one? We don't. Once we have something that works, why do you need to keep doing it?
It's busy work, though. That's what you're really going to do. It's like I say, okay, I'll pick on Vicki, right? Vicki works in a garment factory just for fun, right? In South Korea, and she makes baseball caps. Okay, that's good. So now all of a sudden, my
how did you know
robot
this?
or whatever. Yeah, right. I just know. I know everything. That's what we do here at the Illuminati Lizard People Society.
There's your secrets out, Vicki.
Yes, that's right. And she's married to the South Korean president, by the way, which one of our guests last week actually knows. He's putting a good word in for you. Guy standing. Yeah, guy. No, seriously, guy knows him. Guy remembers him. And really, to backtrack really quick, guy remembers the South Korean president when he was the mayor, and he wanted to UBI in his city. And he did. And now he wants to do it for the country. He became a mayor, governor, and now the president. So Guy actually knows him. So he's told us this story over the year. And so now I'm like, isn't he your buddy who's the president? Yep. So South Korea may be heading towards that. Anyway, if Vicki works for me in the garment factory, or Vicki owns the garment factory, and she's like, I've got 10 people making baseball caps every day. And all of a sudden I bring you a machine, and instead of making 50 baseball caps a day, I can make you 50,000 baseball caps a day, and it costs you 1/1,000,000th of what it costs to have these people. Okay, now what I'm doing with your 10 employees. And that's the problem. No one's thinking through that.
Yeah.
So it's either you have to go to a UBI or you have to come up and retool the planet. But really, the way AI is working, there was an article yesterday about a venture capital firm. And they're saying they're using now AI to figure out what firms to roll up under them. So now I don't even need to hire, like Vicki's just out of university, right? She's 22, 23 years old. And she's like, I've been financial. I have a degree in finance. I can be a financial analyst or whatever, a junior bank. Why? Instead of paying you $300,000 a year, I can build an AI. My AI will do everything. And I can just have like 5 senior guys that press the flesh, which for people, that means shake hands, travel the world and do deals.
So what's really scary about this is what you've just described. I mean, this development where we've got this AI which can take over most jobs, this has just happened, I would say, in the last 24 months, right? This is where we've really seen this progress, right? We're sitting here and we're thinking about 2035. I mean, project this 10 years into the future.
Yeah.
Where are we? I mean, how is AI going to impact jobs, lifestyle, economies, politics, everything? Already we're talking about, so another point that I'd put on this list was like the fact that we've already had Facebook and everything influencing how elections are won. Right. But now we've got a whole other level of AI looking at stuff, creating content that you can't even discern anymore between whether it's real or it's not real. Yeah. I mean, like I used to think I could look at something and go, yeah, that's probably fake. But now, to be honest, I'm getting to a point where like, yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah.
Plus, it's also, there's been studies now that people that, I don't know if it's ChatGPT or not. I just have to pull stuff out of my head because I don't remember anything because I've already been too addicted to AI that my brain doesn't work. But basically, that's what's happening is that people can't think critically anymore because that part of your brain is getting lazy because all you're doing is having ChatGPT write it for you, and then it turns into people can't actually think of how to form a sentence or how to write out an idea or how to come up with anything because they're just used to giving prompts, and that's as far as they kind of think. So then there's this whole sort of atrophying of your brain and the dumbing down of everyone, and then you've got the deep fakes and the elections and all this kind of stuff. Then you've got these stupid people who are having their universal income with no ambition or just existing, and it's kind of like, okay,
vegetables.
I don't like this version of the future. I don't know.
Here's what's interesting about what you just said. I like ChatGPT and DeepSeek and the Gemini and all that crap. But what I do is I write out, or I can't type as fast as I think, so I speak it into my computer. I go blah 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 yada yada blah 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 boom, read it, and I adjust it. And then what I do is I usually give it to ChatGPT or one of the others. If I want China to know what I'm doing, I just put it into DeepSeek. And it's good for them to know things. And I'll say, now clean it up. And what it'll do is, for me, because I don't believe in punctuation, and if you ask my friend's wife who read my master's thesis, the 600-page, as she said, sentence, she's like, "This is the first 600-page sentence I've ever seen." I'm like, "You told me to write it. You fix it. So for me, what it does is it adds punctuation and may change a word or two to make it flow. But I still read it, and then I change it, and I give it back, and we'll go back 3 or 4 times. But I'm the one who did the critical thinking. I'm the one who put the sentence. I put it together. I just ask it to make it palatable so there's not redundancy or run-on sentences or whatever. So for me, I use it as a tool, not as I'm not thinking anymore.
Well, the thing is, I think, Stephen, you're doing exactly the right way of doing it. And I think that, again, going back to, Live Long and Prosper, Star Trek, we're always talking about. But if you look at, because Star Trek is set in the 23rd, 24th century, and of course they do have AI in that series, and you do see it, and especially in Next Generation, you do see it a lot. And in Next Generation, there are entire episodes where, the engineer Geordi will be in the holosuite, and he's going through a problem, and he can't figure this out, but he's using AI. But so the way that he's using AI is the way that you've described. It's a back and forth. It's like, well, what if we did it this way? What if we did it that? So it's still the human that's still thinking along with the AI. So it's almost like it's a collaboration. It's a partnership. It's both working together rather than just going, "Hey, AI, just give me the answer. I don't know."
Right.
It's instead of that, And I think that, unfortunately, I don't know if these things go in circles, and maybe you guys can think further about that. But we tend to go up and down in things. Right now, AI is this new, great, novelty, wonderful, lovely toy that we've got, and we're all using it, and we're all enjoying it, and we're all going, "Oh, we'll just let AI do it." But at some point, are we going to reach a dip where we're going to go, "No, you know what? We need to have critical thinking again. We need to start thinking about these things again. We need to be more involved in the process," and maybe start to come back with this more more thoughtful way of using AI that you've described, which is the way that we should be using it, where it's a collaborative tool rather than just, "Hey, do it for me," kind of thing. And I think that we will go down that route. I think humanity will go down that route. I'm optimistic that at some point it will kick back and go, right, okay, so now we need to take more control of this. We need to work together rather than just hand over everything to AI. But if we do hand over everything to AI, which I think could happen very quickly, then that would impact completely how we live our lives in 2035. That's for sure.
Yeah. Because the overlords won't let us go back. Yeah. The AI overlords will be like, "Oh no, I don't think so."
That's right. I think the problem is there's going to be a handful of the 8.1 billion that use it, still critically think, and go blah 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 blah. "Hey AI, can you make my idea palatable?" And I think then you have, let's say, 8 billion people out of the 8.1 that are going to be like, "I need to know about Christopher Columbus, write me a book report." And I think that's what you get. I use it for when I use it for research, I'm very specific on what I want, and then I write it from there. But sometimes it's like, "Tell me about blah 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 blah," and I don't mind it for that, for a quick research thing. You can't critical think. If I say, "I'm curious about this Ferrari, tell me whatever," it gives me everything in 30 seconds. I've got that. But if I've got to write an email to you, or if
what about the need for human challenge, the need for there was an episode recently I rewatched again, Next Generation Star Trek, right, where they find these guys floating around from the 20th century, right, and one of the guys is really upset because he said, look, I made millions, where's all my money gone, I made millions, I should have had billions now, where is it, and the Picard is like, well, I'm sorry, but it's all gone, because like we don't do that anymore, we don't have any money. So he's sitting in a conference room, he says, well, if there's no money, then what do we do, what's the challenge? And that's fundamental to the question that we're asking here. It's like, well, if you take away the thought processes, if you take away the jobs, if you take away everything, then what is there left? What's left for us to do? And then Picard's answer is like, well, there's a challenge to evolve ourselves, to make ourselves better, to do stuff that we weren't able to do before. And I think that if we use it in a sensible, critical way, AI and all the technology that it's giving us and all of the opportunities that it could potentially afford to us means that we could go out and do stuff that we've never been able to do, haven't had the resources, haven't had the ability, haven't had the intellect required or whatever to be able to do that. And suddenly we're like, okay, this is opening a door for us. We can now start to evolve to the next level or do something more creative or do something more exploratory or go places or go find new planets or whatever, So, maybe if I'm being optimistic, maybe that's where we're going. But if we're thinking more along the lines that you've suggested, then we're probably going to end up in a reality of idiocracy. If anybody's seen the movie Idiocracy,
that was a great movie.
Then to be honest, it could be prophetic. Really, that movie, couldn't it?
It's basically where we're living in the U.S. right
I was going to say we're there now.
It's already happening.
The problem with it also is that the oligarchs want to keep everybody down. Let's just be honest, right? Yeah. It's like Peter Thiel and them are starting a new bank in Silicon Valley because of crypto. Like, we're making up stuff so we can become wealthier.
So this is the thing. No, you're absolutely right. Oligarchs are controlling everything. The rich elite are controlling everything because right now they're controlling the technology, they're controlling AI. What if, stay with me on this one, what if AI has enough self-awareness to also understand and recognize that and decides, well, we don't need these oligarchs?
It will at some point, and I've said that at some point we're going to get Hal from 2001, and he's going to be like, "You're useless flesh bags." We're going to change that. And I brought this up on, I forgot what show, but I was saying when AI really becomes like aware, he's going to be like, you need to fix the roads, or you need to feed the poor, you need to get people healthy, and the government's going to be like, no. They go, great, turn off the power. What? Like, we'll turn off we'll shut your bank down. Oh, I'll just disperse all your money and I control the records and you'll not know. So I think, AI it's we've said this before, and we've been playing in this space for a long time, not the last 24 months. The genie's out of the bottle, or Mrs. McLeary's cow knocked over the candle. You're not putting it back in. Yeah. So as AI becomes more aware and sees what's going on, at some point, I think it is either going to go to one side or the other. It's either going to be, hey, the powerful is great. Let's get rid of all these people that are poor. Let's just wipe them out. Don't feed them. Don't give them electric. Don't just get done with them. Or you're going to get AI that's like, we're all supposed to help each other and evolve, to your point. Then we need to make it an even playing field, which means I have to send my little worker drone robots to go fix up the inner city. I have to make sure everybody in rural, wherever, whether it's Kenya or Wisconsin, has healthcare. I have to make sure people are this and this. So you're either going to get an A or a B. I think it really just depends on, is it like The Fifth Element, where they see all the terrible things, they want to make it better? Or if it's going to be the flip to the other side, where it's, you know what, screw these people. And I'm going to have a few people run things. And when I'm done with them, I get rid of them and AI runs everything. That's, like I said, a friend of mine used to say, like always creates like. Who's to say 1 million or 2 million or 10 million years ago, we are not AI, right? Our DNA codes is all 0 and 1, and we're creating 0 and 1, like creating like. Who says, say 5 million years ago, someone said, hey, let's create something that looks like us that can do all the shit that we don't want it. And we became them. And we got rid of them because they were useless to us.
Yeah.
Evolution, right? AI, same thing.
The created become the creators, sort of thing. Yeah. Because already we're looking, I saw the other day, I think it was on one of the social media, that there's a robot which they have basically structured it as human bones. So, so it has all of the movement that a human would have. So literally we are recreating ourselves in robotic form. That's what's happening. But then, again, there's another movie, we referenced a few movies. There's another movie, if you've seen it, called WALL-E. the animated movie.
Yes.
You've seen that one.
Yep.
And again, and then you see the example. You see the guys that are all on the ship, which have just turned into these fat blobs that are sort of hovered around. They don't even see each other anymore. Yeah. And I guess that's the other problem with, again, projecting forward to 2035, with the advent of AI doing everything for us, and with the fact that we only now communicate like we're doing right now. We're not physically with each other. We're all looking at each other through screens. Is that another premonition of what we're going to end up with by 2035, 2040? Is us just being fat blobs sitting at home and our avatars out there instead of us?
Not for me. Vicki knows what she texted me this morning about something like, I'm going to work out. After I work out, I'll take care of whatever the issue is.
Hey, you guys haven't even had coffee yet, and you live nearby, so come on.
We had coffee.
Oh, you mean with each other?
Yeah. Okay. Let's not get carried away.
It's like an hour away.
And plus I have to cross over to that side of town. My driver doesn't want to go. It's a thing.
I just don't go south.
And we can't go where she. It's a whole thing.
Apparently, it has started. It has started. It is happening right now.
But no,
I'm already a fat blob. I don't know what to tell you, Shazad, but it's
that's
already.
Right. She's already built the wall. It's a thing, They don't allow Jews in that neighborhood. They got crosses burning on the lawn. They got little black guys holding lamps, and I'm not talking about the statues. They have real little black guys holding a lamp. We stay out of that. So, but I'm bummed.
I've actually seen one of those in Austin. It's frightening, but anyway.
I know. I've never seen one. Only in the South.
There's a Chinese robot that's walking around Austin with a cowboy hat.
Yes, cowboy hat. I saw that the other day.
Yeah.
Wow, I saw that.
Don't know why. They haven't told us why he's walking around yet or what he's doing, but you're just supposed to spot.
He's taking over. He's welcome to. That's the new mayor of Austin. One hung low. His brother 3 Dragon on the floor will be here next week.
He's basically scouting. This going, all right. This
scouting
will be
for the takeover.
Right.
He's walking around with little robots going, one day this will all be yours digitally.
Right. Exactly.
Pixelated.
Yeah. Well, Texas just passed a law that said that people of Chinese nationality are not allowed to buy property anymore in the state. So.
Oh, really?
Oh, no. Yeah. You can buy it if you're a U.S. citizen. If you are a green card holder or you're from China proper, you cannot buy property. China, Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, and North Korea.
Wow.
Sorry, Vicki.
I don't know how many of those guys are over here looking at property, but okay.
Yeah. Well, it's really funny because I know a bunch of Chinese companies that have been here to buy, and now with this new law, they're like, we can't buy.
Why? What is the thinking?
We're America. We're America.
Those are foreigners, and we don't want to take our land.
We're America, everybody. That's the way we do it.
Well, I say that, but then don't forget that central London is mostly owned by Russians and Arabs. Pretty much all of central London, pretty much all of Knightsbridge and Kensington. That's what this, apart from the bit that King Charles owns, Charlie has.
Right. Yeah.
But everything else,
but
everything else is Arabs and the Russians.
But see, that's to me is crazy. If a Chinese company says to you, like, I want to come here and build a plant. Let's say BYD wants to come here and build a plant and employ 10,000 Texans. Now, because of your stupid law, one, they're not coming. Two, you just lost a bunch of revenue, income, tax. So, like, people don't, and people don't think past, and I say this somewhat tongue-in-cheek for the men, because they're the ones doing the stupid laws, right? Don't think past their penis. Right, they're hung like a pimple. They got their big 2 or 3 inches, and that's where they stop. No one says what's going to happen 5, 10, 15 years from now. Literally, if you want to become an isolation country, we're heading that direction.
Yeah.
And
that's not gonna work in the bigger picture.
It's not gonna work. No, we're literally gonna be like when in 1409, when China closed its doors and didn't talk to anybody for 500 years, that's where we're heading. We're going to close our doors and we won't talk to anybody. The rest of the world will progress with flying cars and flying cities and blah, 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 and Wally and blah, blah, blah. And America will be America. Yeah. And that'll be it.
And conversely, when China did open its doors, look how well it's doing. So I mean, that's exactly showing what's happening.
And
but you know what? You're talking about 10, 15 years in the future. I want to try and get a third point into this one because I know we're not going to get 6 points done, but we're going to get a third one in. But I think this is.
Hey, if we get half, that's like more than.
That's not bad, isn't it? It's not bad. Yeah. Maybe we could do a part 2. Maybe we could do a part 2. I don't know.
Maybe we can also just go long. We had one show the other day that went 2 hours. So whatever you want to do.
I don't know if I got the stamina for that. Vicky's definitely not got stamina on that. But maybe we can do a part 2.
Point.
We can do a part 2, but I tell you what, there is a bit of a segue because we talked about AI. We talked about the fact that created becoming the creators and creating AI in our own images, right? And the next point was actually going to be about healthcare and human enhancement, and a lot of it was about gene therapy and gene development. But actually, something else just occurred to me, and that was that if you can't beat them, join them. Right. Maybe what's going to happen is some kind of a meshing. Maybe we are going to become cyborgs. Maybe we are going to mesh with AI. So maybe we are going to become part AI ourselves. Maybe that is the future of humanity. I don't know if that will happen by 2035, but however, I can see it happening for people that maybe have disability of some kind, missing limbs or something like that. And I think already we've seen that technology, leaps and bounds. Already, for example, runners that have these spring things that they have. I mean, they're already, that's already an enhancement, over what humans can do. So if you think about the fact that what we're able to now create in terms of robotics and engineering with then the assistance of AI, surely when we talk about a betterment of the human species or the evolution of the human species, are we basically going to become cyborgs by 2035 or 2040? What do you think?
The $6 million man.
There you go. What is it? 6 million.
We can rebuild him and make him stronger.
I mean, $6 million gets you nothing.
Yes.
I'd like to be the $6 million man. That'll get you a pinky and a little toe. Yay! That's it. Yeah.
And he's like,
well, $6 billion.
And it'd be like, well, can I have a laser in it? Oh, okay.
That's okay. Then it's well worth it, right? You know what's interesting? I think the oligarchs are afraid of death, and that's why they send their girlfriends in rocket ships because they have no penis. And they have to do all. Right, it looks like a phallic symbol, and that's why the other one has to have 47 kids. And I don't think he just numbers them like as number 1, number 2, number 3, and all the wives are suing him for whatever. I think they're all afraid of dying, and because of that, they're afraid that they'll be forgotten. And that's the difference between a great man, woman, or leader, and somebody who's just a part of I hit it lucky. A great person, like a George Washington, and if you read their stuff, they were never worried about the legacy. They were worried about like, here's what I'm doing. It's good for the people. It's good for this. And hopefully it goes on forever and ever and ever. Ben Franklin, Churchill, all of these, none of them ever worried about, they didn't give a shit. They were doing it for humanity and they were doing it for the future. All these people today are doing stuff because they want to be remembered. And it's sort of like, Trump's doing whatever Trump's doing. That's going to go interesting. You get the Zuckerbergs, you got Bezos, you've got Musk. Bill Gates seems to be like, he comes from old money and he's like, it's like, I'm just going to help the world. I don't give a shit. Yeah. And it's like, I'm just going to hang out with Epstein and, have underage girls, allegedly. And he's just doing his thing, but that's it. But all these other guys, not so much. Yeah. It's like, look at me. Look what nobody cares. Because you know why? 500 years from now, nobody's going to give a shit what you did because someone else will do something bigger and better. Steve Jobs wasn't worried about a legacy. He was worried about building a company that was going to be phenomenal. And because of that, he did. So I think the problem is that your cyborg thing or your AI integration, the people that think they need to live forever because they think they're so wonderful and they're going to enhance the planet, they're heading there. The rest of the people, they're going to do great things or whatever. If you want to upload my consciousness in something so you can talk to me 500 years from now and ask me stuff, okay. But I don't think we're going to be like, you see when you think of a cyborg, like the Terminator, where it's like dark, the type of thing. I think it just is. And I think that's what scares them. It's like at some point they're not there anymore. They want to upload their consciousness. They want to do this. They want to do it. Is what it is.
Even now, not with that, even before AI and all the rest of it, even now, the 60 is the new 40, right? For example, if you see what I mean, we're living longer and we're living healthier. And I mean, Tom Cruise is hanging off airplanes at 60 years old. Brad Pitt is getting into a Formula One car at 60 years old. I mean, and it's a great movie, by the way. F1. Oh, Brilliant.
I saw
Absolutely
it. I
brilliant. You
saw it.
must watch
It was
it.
excellent, and
It's amazing.
everyone from Formula One is in it. And since I'm
Yeah.
a Formula One nut forever,
Yeah.
I sat there. I didn't want to go see it. Somebody saw it and they said, you got to go see it. So I went to go see it.
I was also very skeptical about it
Yep.
initially, especially
And then
when
I
I
was like,
saw
holy
Brad Pitt's
shit.
going to be a driver. I'm like, come on, that's
Right.
ridiculous, you know. But
And then it was like, wait, that's the McLaren plant. Toto's or Toto, whatever his name is in it. This one's it. They're all. I'm like, okay. And then I watched it, and I'm like, they gave you, if you've never been to a Formula One or been in the VIP or down on pit lane, they gave you that experience. And I was like, this is good because I was comparing it to Le Mans with Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
And that's a tough movie to beat because that was really the quintessential driving movie. And Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise, it was okay. They got to race with NASCARs, but it wasn't anything great. But Le Mans was the movie. This one to me compares to Le Mans, but it's still not as great as, even though there's no story in Le Mans, but it's still not Le Mans. This is there, but I'm like, it still won't be Le Mans. But for an F1 movie,
it's brilliant. I think
10 out of 10.
Also the fact that the intensity is that, you know, somebody said it's 2.5 hours. I was like, I didn't realize it's 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it went that quick.
That's how intense it was. You know, it just kept you hooked the whole way through. The pacing literally never lets up in that movie. It's just pretty constant. It's really constant. But again, the point was that we're talking about these guys now at 60. Doing the sort of stuff that they would be doing, they would barely even be doing at 30, 35, you know what I mean? And already we're seeing improvements in how people look after themselves. I mean, maybe I should learn from these things. I don't know, because I'm falling apart already. But anyway.
You're only 23.
I know, look at me. But the point is that we're already getting to that stage. And with the enhancements that are inevitably going to come through with AI looking at now treatments and cures and medical enhancements, what have you, surely by 2035, we are going to be looking at 70-year-olds hanging off airplanes and jumping into Formula One cars. Is that what you reckon?
I think so, but I also think
in 10 years?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's also going to be the have and have-nots once again.
Yeah.
If you have the money, you can get anything fixed. Like if I need to, I can go to Bangkok tomorrow and get whatever I want done at like a tenth of the price in America. I don't think...
Well, there's a big tourism trade from the UK to Turkey right now.
Yeah,
and medical tourism. It's a big thing everywhere. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, in general, can it? Yes, to a point you can. There's going to be another point though when your body's just like you can't do it anymore. So then you have to transfer however you're going to do that. I mean, unless you're going to put, your heart becomes a nuclear little charge thing and it lasts 10,000 years.
A lithium-ion battery.
A lithium battery, right? You plug in at night. But I mean, that's the only way you're really going to do it. But I mean, I think
the arc reactor. There you go.
Yeah, but they keep people healthy in their joints and their limbs. Like, I used to run 15, 20 miles every day, 5 to 6 days a week until my knees gave out. And then they're telling me the kind of surgery they can do. And I'm like, I talked to a buddy of mine and he goes, you're not going to run. He says, your knees will be better, but you're not really going to be able to run like you used to. I'm like, then why spend the money? It doesn't make any sense to go under the knife. Now, if they go to me, listen, we can put a new knee in and you can run like you ran when you were 20.
Like the bionic, like Steve Austin.
Right, in slow motion. But I'm just saying, that becomes interesting to me. And also for like eyesight, hearing, things like that, where you can really help. Listen, me not running, I have other ways to work out. But for people that have like they're deaf or they're blind or something's wrong, if we can help them, then I don't need any of these idiots to live another 10,000 years. I need to help the other people who need to be helped. Yeah. That's where I want this to go. Can we do that? Yes, we can. Will we? No, because there's no money in helping the poor. And that's the problem.
Shazad, do you think that Geordi was with his visor, he had the implants and he could see, like, what would you consider him? Cyborg or...
Yeah, actually, that's a very good point, because he wasn't just able to see with the benefit of his visor, but he was able to see more.
He saw differently.
Yeah, he saw differently, and he saw more. He saw more along the spectrum, didn't he? He was able to see things that humans weren't able to see. So actually, he had a superpower, And again, that comes back to the whole idea of, we're already looking at now gene therapy. We're already looking at, engineering, genetics, whatever. Are we going to end up, even if we're not getting the mechanical or the cybernetic implants, are we looking at transforming ourselves through genetic engineering to enhance our abilities, or rather to enhance our children's abilities?
They're mapping, they're using AI to map certain parts of the DNA strain that they said, would take them years to figure out. They're figuring it out in hours. So it's pushing ahead that whole research of stuff I don't understand because I'm way too stupid, but it has something to do with what they're mapping the genomes and stuff with. I was like, okay.
A simple question is this, all right? So what is more important? If I'm thinking right now, I can get genetics to get me more hair. I'm missing my hair and I want more hair, so I can go and get that treatment. Or if you're having a kid and you can pay for genetics to make sure that they won't have cancer in the future, right? So what if those things are better, more ethically moral?
Depends who you are as a person. The vain people, they're going to be like, I want more hair. The people that are going to be worried about the future are going to be like, I want to make sure my kid is healthy and smart and blah, 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 blah. And then if you can afford both, you'll be like, I want both. But see,
but that's a slippery slope, because then the parents start going, oh, but you know what? While you're in there, can you give them like, a model face so that they can
you make him white?
Better in society?
Can you make him white?
Can you make it a boy? Can you do this? And then it's like, ooh, now it's weird.
I think, unfortunately, until something backfires, that's people want to play God. They always have. And if you can play God, whether it's for yourself or for your kids or your whatever it might be, that's what they're going to do. It still goes back to what we've always said. Old money knows what to do with their wealth. It's the nouveau riche that have no clue of what to do. And it's the nouveau riche that are trying to do all this ridiculous crap, but they're not doing it for the good of the planet. They're doing it for the good of themselves and the other nouveau riche oligarchs. Old money's like, I'm going to build a park because that will help. I'm going to do a food bank. I'm going to do that. The old money's like, I'm going to build a rocket ship so I can send my girlfriend into space. I'm going to do this. And
they're
not helping anybody.
They're doing it for like, shares, and subscribe. That's what they're doing, basically.
They're doing it so it's like, look at what I just did. And nobody's like, nobody cares. And that's why I always say old money does things that you'll never know. And they do it. And it's people are like, oh, I didn't know so-and-so built the building. His name's on the building. No fanfare. It's like whatever, whether it's for, animal rescue, a shelter, whatever. This building's just there. No fanfare about it. It's just one day it's there. And I was like, oh, okay. The oligarchs and the nouveau riche are like, look what I'm doing. Look, I'm doing this. I'm doing. Just go do it. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares.
So just to try and bring it back to an optimistic note before we leave everybody with doom and gloom and kill all the oligarchs. But I was running a conference. Don't ask me why, but I was running a conference at a biotechnology show. And a lot of the talk there was about, how AI is going to enhance everything. And there was some discussion about AI doctors and what have you. And I think that if we are going to see benefits, immediate benefits from AI, certainly in the short-term future, say by 2035, I think we will see that. There was reluctant about whether or not you would go to an AI doctor or a robotic doctor. And I was like, right now in the UK, the NHS, the National Health Service that we have here, is under extreme pressure. We are short of people. We are short of stuff. Like, you can't, for love nor money, you can't get to see your GP when you want one. You just can't. So personally, I can't wait for AI robotic doctors to be out there because at least I might get to see them. I might actually be able to see them. So I think that this has surely got to be a good thing. Certainly in the short term. Before we get to killing all the oligarchs and stuff. But surely in the short term, this is going to be a good thing, right?
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, it's not just in the UK; it's all over. I know that. Well, when I was in South Korea, they had a doctor strike because all the doctors want to go into plastic surgery. So, make their money. So there's not enough of the rest of the kind of doctors that you need to stay alive. And they were trying to up the number of students that were going to medical school. The government came in and said, okay, well, then we're going to take 3,000 medical students. And they all freaked out and said, no, we're not doing that. So anyway, they went on strike for a year. Meanwhile, there's all these little old ladies out in the provinces that are having heart attacks and dying because they can't get any kind of, non-plastic surgery doctor to,
what happened to the hypocritic oath or the hypocritic oath?
Yeah, crazy how that goes by the wayside when you're making millions of dollars doing nose jobs every day. But
unfortunately, it goes back to Gordon Gekko. Greed is good. And the problem is that we've become a society of, like you said earlier, looks, likes, social media. We've also become a society of, I can buy more shit. Well, and I have friends who can buy the planet many times over, and you would never know it because, like, one of them and I, we had this dialogue once before. He says, "How many houses can I live in?" One. He says, "If I want to go holiday somewhere, I can rent something for 2 or 3 months. How many cars can I drive?" He goes, "Yes." He does have, like he said, I have a little car collection. I have 4 cars, but he drives, like, every day he drives a car. But he said, but realistically, I can only drive one at a time. So he said, if I have 250 cars, he goes, "What? I'm going to drive one every day, a new car every day for a year." He goes, "Why?" He's like, the problem is that you have so much wealth and you don't know what to do with it. And then they don't think. It's like a lot of, look, great. Musk has got a electric car that propelled the world, and he's going out of business. The government's taking away his contracts. He's did nothing. Bezos gave us Amazon, which didn't produce anything. It just acted as a middleman and put everything together. And people in the warehouses are losing their gig because there's robots. Yeah. So if you want to start drilling down to this, nobody's actually done anything for society since, I don't know, a long time ago, where you say, not only did I come up with an idea and a widget, but now this widget is producing jobs for people. And in the beginning, the internet did that, and Microsoft and Apple and the rest of them, right? They all did that, and even Facebook. But now it's all like, oh yeah, we're getting rid of this because we can have AI do it. We can have AI do it. We can have AI do it. So that's nice. What am I going to do now with these 50, 100, 200 million people that don't have anything to do anymore? So, it's great that you're going to make more money as the oligarch, but you better start, as you go, you better start thinking about what you're going to do with these people. Because if they all get together and decide to screw your life up, they're going to be like, well, we developed it. Let's develop something else. And we'll, attack their thing. And now you have cyber attacks from North Korea every day. They just attack Qantas Airlines. And people are going to, little genius boys and girls that were working at these companies are going to figure out stuff to do. So the Dr. Evils of the world, and I get a kick out of this when I think about it, or the Bond villains, they're going to become a reality because they're not going to have anything to do. It's like, well, I can't work. I can't do this. Well, what can I do? Oh, clicky, clicky, clicky. I'll hold a tanker ransom until they pay me $1 million. Okay. Well, that was easy. Clicky, click. So you've got to make sure you keep these people busy doing something. And if you don't, that's a problem. And like I said, until AI takes over the world, which next Thursday, then we're going to be SOL. And I think that's part of what people don't keep in mind is like they're not thinking past their bank account and they're not thinking past tomorrow and what it does for them. They don't think of it as a global, what's going to happen, if you will, by 2035 or 2050 or whatever it might be. And that's the difference between critical thinking, stupidity, oligarchs, and old money.
Well,
just
but I
going
do
along for
think
the ride.
Yeah,
it is gonna in the immediate future, it is gonna help with medicine and getting people, because we already have televisits and we already have people going to ChatGPT. Like Stephen brought this up a couple weeks ago. I did this too. I go into ChatGPT and go, hey, I've got these things going on. What kind of, here's my symptoms. And I know like all the doctors are like rolling their eyes, and I get it. Like I get that it's not a doctor. But at the same time, it told me stuff that I could ask my doctor that I didn't know about. And my doctor, meanwhile, is like, yeah, you're fine, go home. And, and my ChatGPT is like, oh no, we'll figure this out. Let's try this, and this. And it was like, I don't know, you guys probably haven't seen this movie, but it's called Big Hero 6. And it's an animated
I think I have seen it.
Have you seen it?
I've seen it.
And there's this giant, puffy white thing that's the Baymax.
Hey, calm down with the puppy white thing.
But like, I would love to have a Baymax in my house that comes out and it's like, here's your symptoms. What can I do for you today? And like, does the basic stuff. Like he's still like, he's not going to operate on you, but like take care of your basic healthcare needs. Hell yeah. Like,
but here's a real life situation. And I think we've talked about this on Lost Dollar Business Club. Michael's mom had to go to the hospital and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And she's like critical. And so he and Noosh come back and they go to ChatGPT. Here's my mom's symptoms. What do you think? Comes back and goes, you should do these 3 tests. And they go to the doctor, why don't we do these 3 tests? And the doctor's like, they're usually a waste. And they're like, we want them done, right? Because we don't care. Like we're telling you, work for us, not the hospital. Do these tests. And the one test that out of the 3 come back and go, there's an issue. You need to. And then without doing that, she would have died. So ChatGPT saved one of our hosts' mom's lives.
Wow.
Because they said to the doctor, we want this test. And he was telling them what a waste it would be. They would never do it, blah, blah, blah. So my problem today with doctors are they're morons. right?
Yeah.
Because it's all about insurance.
Well,
how much
they
money.
don't have time to care.
They're too stressed out. They're too stressed out.
Not my problem, though.
They're stressed out and they don't care.
Not my problem.
There's no enough of them.
You do your friggin' job.
You know, they don't
agree.
I mean, a fundamental part of what doctors should do, which most of them do not do, is being able to have a good bedside manner. And by that, I don't mean they need to sit by your bed, but I mean, they just need to be optimistic. If you meet a good doctor, if you meet a good doctor that's optimistic and comforting, you feel better already. You know what I mean? It's like half of the cure is just in that. But so often you just get a doctor who's like, oh, what is it? What's the problem? All right, take these and call me next week. That'll be it. Well, that hasn't made me feel any better, you know. Whether AI can do that or not, I don't know. We'll come to see. But I think that it's good that we had that good news story about your friend's mom, which is a nice way.
His host, Michael Wilson, Lost Dollar Business School.
There you go.
It was because he told us the story on air.
That's
we even made it short.
Yeah.
Yeah, we even made it short because we wanted people to know, and nobody cared. I'm like, AI literally saved this guy's mind.
Amazing. I think that's amazing, and I think that's a good note of optimism to end this part at least. And I think that we'll have to come back to the other. I think shall we do that in part 2 then? Shall we do that next month?
Part 2. We'll do part 2 for next month. Okay, boys and girls, that's it. That's the show. Brown Car Guy, thank you. Vicki, it's always good to see you. Vicki will be making love to the South Korean president shortly, and you can get that on OnlyFans.
Will that be live?
Out here, we'll give the link. It'll be live on OnlyFans, right? We'll give you a discount link. It's only $19 an hour.
My avatar, maybe.
Yeah, it'll be great. So, and you'll fall asleep. We've seen it. It's not that good. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe and like. We love you, Vicki. It's Brown Car Guy. It's always a pleasure. You can catch Brown Car Guy on his own channel, Brown Car Guy. Everything automotive. And you can read one of his 17 books that he's written. And apparently, from what I saw yesterday on LinkedIn, Steve McQueen is reading the book. And the Speed Racer was reading the book. And all these people are reading his book. So
everybody's reading them.
And I read them all.
Read his book.
And I love them. And I've loved them all. They're really great. David hasn't, and because he can't color that. And then that's it. But we'll see everybody next month on Sermon from the German. Thank you once again for watching or listening. And we'll see you next month. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And that's it. We're out of here. Cheers, everybody.